All right, so Beat Thang can do a lot of advanced things, and there's a lot of miscellaneous features and functions that exist on the machine, and there's a place that a lot of them live, and I want to take you to that place right now. It's called System Mode, and the way to get to the System Mode is by clicking the System button. And once you get in there, you're going to see a few different setting options, and I want to go over those with you right quick. First is buffer size. This little thing is a mini computer. So just like a computer with an audio interface, how you can set the buffer, you can set the buffer on BeatThang. And by setting the buffer, it allows you to give the machine either a faster response or more horsepower. If you set it down to the lowest setting, 256, basically that allows the quickest response. But if you have a ton of samples going on or a ton of effects going on with a ton of tracks, then it may glitch out. So if once you program your beats, if you want to start using all the effects and everything in real time to do like real time mixdowns and stuff, you might want to try setting your buffer to a higher setting for playback. So you can set it all the way up to 2048, 1024, 512, or 256. Most of the time, I'll leave it on 256 unless I'm making a crazy intense pattern with all 16 tracks and all the effects. Then I'll bump up the buffer size. But for the most part, 256, it can handle that all day long. The next setting you're going to see is pad sensitivity. What that does is determines, the velocity of the pad. So if I set it to off, then I'm not going to get any velocity sensitivity on the pads. It doesn't matter if I hit it soft or if I hit it hard. If I set it to soft, medium, or hard, if I hit it to hard, then I have to really hit it hard to get that maximum velocity. If I set it to soft, then I barely have to hit it to get that maximum velocity. Medium is probably is the default setting and probably where you'll leave it most. It gives me a good velocity setting there, so it's my pad sensitivity basically. Receive multi-timbral on false or true. That's basically if you have it Beat Thang hooked up to a like an MPC or some other type of sequencer, and you want to sequence each track individually from an external sequencer, you can set that to true. You set it to false, and it's just going to be like a global setting, and it won't receive the multi-timbral input. I can also set my MIDI in channel to be omni or any of the 16 channels. I can set my MIDI root note, which basically that's where how to offset the keys here. So if I wanted if I set my root note to 0, everything is just like an 88 weighted keyboard, But if I wanted to plug like another keyboard in here, something like that, and I wanted to shift all my notes to the left or to the right, I could just do that with the MIDI root note, and it'll shift all my notes to the right. I've got MIDI input, my MIDI input and output settings. I can set those to on or off. If you set it to off, it just saves a little bit more battery juice. I've got my USB port input on or off. Once again, set to off, it saves a little bit more battery juice. You set it to on if you're got something coming in for your USB port, and same way with USB port B. Then your MIDI output on or off or through, and through is if you're trying to do a MIDI pass through. And then you've got also MIDI output for USB port A or B. You can set that to out or through or off. Okay, so depending on which one you want to set your USB port to, you can have your MIDI coming out or MIDI coming in of either one of the USB ports. So you can configure that how you want. Pattern PPQ, that's parts per quarter note. And this is really cool feature that we added. It's the first also ever in any drum machine. Allows you to set the parts per quarter note. So I can set this to 24, 48, 96, 120, 240, 480, or 960. Well, why would I want to do that? Well, parts per quarter note means how many little clicks there are between each quarter note. The higher I set it, the more potential places I have for that note to fall. So what that means is if I set it to 24, that means there's only 24 little places for that one note to go between each quarter note. So set to 24 gives you the sound of like an old school drum machine, like a Linn drum. You set it to 96, that's like an MPC 2500 sound or an SP12. You set it up to 960, that's like MPC 5000 or a high resolution sequencer. So depending on how you want your Beat Thang to sound, you can adjust it. And you got all the in-between ones too. So you can adjust the sound, the whole sound of the timing of the Beat Thang, which is really dope. Also, you've got pitch bend range, which that affects how low your pitch is or how high your pitch is. So let's say if I've got it set to 12, it does a whole octave. If I set it to 2, it's more of a traditional pitch bend, or I could go crazy with it and set it all the way to 24. So it just sets the range for the pitch. I leave it on 12 a lot unless I'm trying to play like a keyboard part where I want the whammy, then I'll put it on 2. But it's usually either 2 or 12 for me. But it's real cool because then, you know, if you set it to 12 or 24, then you can flip the whole octave. You can be playing a keyboard part, flip to a whole nother octave without even hitting the bank button. So if I keep scrolling down here, I've got pitch bend mode, which is either track or global. If I set it to track, then the pitch bend is just controlling the pitch for each individual track. If I set it to global, then my pitch wheel controls the whole beat, like everything on every track. It slams the pitch down or raises the pitch up on the whole beat. Whereas track, it's just per track. Keep scrolling down. I've got this is the last one. I've got my tempo indicator, whether it's set to play, tempo, or off. And that's basically, it gives me a visual reference for the tempo. For example, let's start this beat to playing. You'll see the tempo is flashing in time with the beat. Well, if I go to my system mode here, I can set that to play, and now you'll see the play button is flashing with the tempo. So if you want a visual reference of the, you know, of what the tempo is, you can set that, or you can turn it to off, and then nothing will blink. I usually leave mine on the tempo. Gives me a nice little visual reference of what the metronome is doing. So that's that. But then there's a couple other things here. There's one is controller mode. If I set the Beat Thang to controller mode, then it will control Beat Thang Virtual, and it's a full controller for Beat Thang Virtual without, you know, I can still use all the buttons and everything on here, but instead of switching modes on the machine, it's switching it on the software, and I can exit out of that by hitting exit at any time. And it'll take me right back to the hardware as, you know, a standalone piece. I've also got USB mode, and if I had it connected into the USB, then I could basically, that's how I would do my, you know, system updates and all that kind of good stuff, and just by clicking the USB, and then you can just drag the new firmware software updates onto the machine. Then I've also got this other little thing here that says about. If I click that, it's going to give me all about Beat Thang, what version you're running, how much RAM you're using at any given time, how much space you have on all your SD cards, or how much space you have on your USB flash key, how much space you have on your user ROM. It's going to show you all that, and give a list of the credits to all the people who helped out building and designing the machine. So big shout out to all the designers, big shout out to all the software programmers, all the session players that we hired to do the sounds with this thing. You know, shout out to the finance people, the accountants, all the countless people that helped put this together. So this is a good place to give y'all a shout out, you know, where the credits are. The credits are all roll. You know, we had to shout out everybody, even the LADSP effects designers who helped create the effects for this. We give them a shout out too. They're all in the credits here. So yeah, man, so that's system mode on Beat Thang. So all the little miscellaneous settings and stuff that you're looking for, chances are you'll find them in system mode. My name is AJA. I'm the president of Beat Thangs, and it's been my honor to show you Beat Thang hardware today and how to work the system mode. So, peace.